Hello, I am your host, Cathy Chester, and welcome to the Move It or Lose It podcast, a podcast about all things that move the mind, body, and soul. The Move It or Lose It podcast is for information, awareness, and inspirational purposes only. I am not a doctor, and I don't even play one on TV, so please consult your doctor before making any medical decisions. The views expressed by advertisers, guests, or contributors are their opinions and not necessarily the views of the Move It or Lose It podcast. Okay, so I'm very excited about this one. So welcome to Move It or Lose It. And today I have not just Cathy Chester, the other Cathy Chester, but her husband, Gary, as well. So welcome to Move It or Lose It, both of you.
Thank you, Cathy.
Thanks, Kath.
You bet. This has been, yes, this has been very, very exciting for me. I wanted the two of you on. I know, like I said in the beginning, Gary, what is it like to be married to the queen of MS?
It's a thrill a minute. It's joyful.
And you
Totally
know, she
predictable.
is exactly right. Just like the disease in itself,
Oh my God.
right?
Well,
But she
way to
is the
save me,
queen.
Thank you.
You have done so many things. You have represented multiple sclerosis for so many years. You have given so many, like the TED Talk, you've been on so many things that you have given so much awareness. You still do. You never stop. I can never not read your posts. I know you get mad. So if anyone answers like they didn't read it, I know for certain she's going to be on that. So I'm like, don't you do a heart or a like if you've not read it. So I love that it is on, and it's worth the read. So for you not to read one of your posts, it's really, you're really missing out because obviously you're a writer, and what you put in your posts is so meaningful that you're really missing out if you're not reading what you put in. So thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that because when I started, especially my blog, because I'm a little introverted, believe it or not,
Mm.
and I was always nervous about speaking my truth 100% because my mom would be reading it or my close family. And I saw that the first post that as Elizabeth Gilbert says, I broke myself open. Then I got more responses and more great conversation. And I said, the hell
Yeah.
with this. We have to speak our truth and
Yeah.
stand in it and create more awareness that way. And who are we helping by
Yes.
not doing it? So
Right.
I
Right.
started the path. Yeah.
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 Thank you for that. So I want to go back, and then I want to talk about you guys. So Cathy, take us back to when the car accident. Take us back to that. So take us back to diagnosis time. Take us back to that, just the car accident, the feeling that you had afterwards. Take us back to then.
Yeah. So I graduated college in 1981, and a couple weeks later, my friends, their family had a house up in Vermont. I was living in New Jersey, and we thought that we'd all get together. And I just in Vermont, and I drove up there, and it had one of its famous snowstorms. This must have been more than 3 weeks after graduation. This was in the winter. So, Vermont is known for those little covered bridges that
Right.
are plentiful. So we decided that we didn't care about the snowstorm. We're going to go out and do
Well, you just
whatever.
graduated, of course.
I know we're silly girls, and we went out and we went to one of those first covered bridges, and the snow was really coming down, and there was no one coming through the other side. So my girlfriend started going through the bridge. Well, this other car came zooming in and met us head on. And I don't remember the accident. I just remember waking up on a stretcher, and I
No
had
airbags back then.
no
Yeah,
airbags,
right,
no
right.
seat. We didn't wear seat belts either,
Right, I
and
was
I
gonna
was
say, probably no seatbelts.
back seat passenger side. Yeah. And so I had to get I call it my scarlet letter. I had 16 stitches in my
Wow.
forehead, and I was lucky, but my parents drove up and brought me home, and they wanted to, check it out. And I did have a concussion, and
Mhm.
my feet, I could not feel my feet, and which was a new of course, thing for
Right.
me. I'm 21 years old. So my family doctor announced that I was fine, except I was wearing shoes that were too tight, and that was cutting off my circulation in my feet. So being a 21-year-old, I said, Yahoo, I can go buy new shoes now.
Right.
But the over the years,
Right.
it started to manifest itself more and more,
Right.
the numbness, I guess. So fast forward, I was working in Manhattan, and it was 1986, and
Mhm.
I decided I was walking through Port Authority one day, the bus station in New York, to get home to my apartment, and I was walking in my heels, and all of a sudden I'm walking kind of crooked, and
Right.
so I looked back and one of my shoes had fallen off 10 feet in back of me and I hadn't
Wow.
even felt it. So I said,
Wow.
something's not right. So I went
Right.
to a sole practitioner, a neurologist, and uh, unlike most patients, and they didn't really use MRIs back then, it was
Right.
CAT scan and
Spinal taps.
Okay.
a spinal tap. Ugh. And
Fun, fun, fun.
yeah, sometimes. Um, and they quickly diagnosed me. And I did go into the city. My parents insisted going into Manhattan to get a second opinion. And
I'm
that
surprised that they
process,
quickly diagnosed you, which is,
it was very unusual.
yeah,
The second doctor, neurologist in Manhattan, he was well regarded. And he also said, you have MS, but there'll probably be a cure in 5 years. So we
I
all know how
wish.
that panned out, yeah. So that would be 1991, and none of you guys would have MS, so
Right.
so anyway, that was the beginning
Mhm.
of when I was diagnosed, but Gary and I were dating, and he, um he
So when,
actually
wait, did you guys
yeah,
start dating pre-diagnosis?
yes. We
Okay.
started dating in
85.
1985, the year before
Okay.
I was diagnosed,
So
yeah.
while your feet were numb and all that, so Gary, what were you thinking? Were you thinking anything?
Well, I just
Your
wanted
girlfriend may just
Kathy,
have numb feet?
I just wanted Kathy to be okay. And
Yeah.
I mean, cutting to the chase, because we were engaged in
Mm,
1987, married in
mhm,
1988. I was very optimistic.
mm.
I thought I didn't know about a cure in 5 years. That sounded
Right.
a little bit too,
Preposterous,
yeah,
yeah.
crazy. But
Yeah.
I was very confident in science, biology, chemistry, that
Mm,
there would be a treatment. There was a treatment on the horizon. There would be one
sure.
soon, because back then there was no MS specific
Right.
medication. Say that again, because I'm sure some younger folks are listening
I'm
in and
like,
they have a
"What?"
choice of what, 24,
Right.
25.
Right.
And more in
There
the
were
pipeline.
no MS
Yes.
medications.
And
So
Gary, I think it's important to say that too, because a lot of our younger people that are diagnosed have parents also, or are listening. And things I hear are, why did my mom not do the things you guys do now? Why did she not take better care? And I'm like, they didn't know anything. We didn't know anything. There wasn't anything. There was nobody telling us to do anything but sit down and wait. Either there was going to be a cure or sit down and rest. That's all we were
And
told.
and the internet was in its infancy. There was no
Right.
such thing as social media. There
Snail
was
mail.
yeah, so it
so they
was
had
very
so they
isolating.
had three treatment options back then: steroids, steroids, and steroids.
Yes.
Or if you were incredibly desperate and gullible, believe it or not, bee sting therapy. They thought bee
Oh, yeah,
venom
I remember
would
that.
We still
suppress
talk
your immune.
about that,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but that, I love Kathy, and I didn't want to
Mhm,
make a decision based solely on the possible course of her MS. And
mhm,
again, I was optimistic. I'm not always an optimistic person by nature, but I was optimistic about this. And before we knew it, it was a few years later,
7.
7 years later, we had one, and we even talked about this. We figured once they break through and get one effective
mhm.
immunosuppressant um, product
Therapy.
therapy,
Right.
that will open the floodgates.
So beta
And
seron was the
yeah, so there
first
were there
one.
were
Yeah.
beta seron,
Yeah.
and then there were
Avonex
three
and
for a
then
Right.
while.
Copaxone,
Right, there were three for a
ABC,
while.
yeah.
Yeah. Which one did you start on, Kathy?
Well, there was nothing else, so I started
Beta
on
Seron.
Betaseron, and the day after it was approved, because I had a great medical team, I was
Uh,
right on Betaseron. Didn't
Avonex.
work out for me. Too many side effects. The day that Avonex came out, I got on that, the same thing. And then the day
Yeah.
that Copaxone came out, that I was on that, and that I stayed on that for 22 years. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, yeah, a long time, but
Yeah.
we would have taken anything, anything.
Sure.
And I hate
Absolutely.
steroids. For me, I hate steroids. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I did not do well on those.
Well,
So
the
that
yeah.
worked. And how did you feel here once she was on Avonex or Copaxone and was doing well on that? Did you both feel like, okay, this is going okay, this isn't what we thought life was going to be? But how did you feel? Did you feel like we're doing this, it's okay, life is working out okay? Or were there relapses and scary things? And did it still not feel like there's solid ground here?
Well, I think we all know that the medications are not a cure and that we still can have exacerbations while we're on it. And that's the trajectory of our lives change the minute we get our
Right,
diagnosis. And because MS is so unpredictable, you don't know where your path is going to lie. So
right.
even though I was on Copaxone and even though it worked well for me for all these years,
Hmm.
obviously 2 years is a long time, I still
Right.
had breakthroughs. I still had other symptoms that popped up in the meantime,
Yes.
but it was better than nothing. It was better than
Right.
just relying on nothing.
well,
Yeah.
what really saved us
Uh-huh.
is Kathy became pregnant in
Yeah.
1992. At that
Hmm.
time, the disease had manifested, had made
Hmm.
itself known. She was driving with hand controls,
Hmm.
and pregnancy is a natural
I'm walking with a
immunosuppressant,
cane.
walking with a
Yeah.
cane. So the
Yeah.
pregnancy actually suppressed her immune system
Uh,
Right. It's a
remarkably.
beautiful thing,
oh, if I could have done a cartwheel, I would all
right?
the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so my recollection, and Kathy's may differ a little, my
Mm,
recollection was after that, she was on a fairly steady course.
mm,
And the Avonex and the later medications more or less have kept her on that course. It's exacerbated a little bit over the
mm,
last year or two, which we
mm.
sort of expected it
Right.
with age. But that was the boost. That was really the suppressant boost
Yeah.
that helped her and us
Yeah.
tremendously.
Yeah,
And
stay pregnant, right?
Yeah. Right. If
Most people
only,
said that. I
gosh,
don't think
it
so.
was
60
great.
and I'm done.
How did you guys deal with, or did you have the doctors telling you this is wrong, don't do it, this is gonna set you back? Did you have that or did you not have that?
You mean the pregnancy?
Yeah, when you were
Yeah.
becoming pregnant, did you battle
No.
that?
Well, by that time, there was more information
Yeah.
available. The internet was available, and don't forget that when I started, that the comprehensive care centers were just starting out, and by 1991, 92, they were all over worldwide. So there was a lot more information, and there were.
Yeah.
When I was getting pregnant, there was one doctor that my medical team knew of that was talking about pregnancy and MS. No one else
Right.
was. I drove an hour and a half to northern New York State to see her, and she was saying that there's nothing wrong with pregnancy and MS. But that said, they were also saying that the chances of children of people with MS
Yes.
is much lower than it is now.
Yeah.
We know that there's many children and teenagers that are now
Yeah.
being diagnosed, pediatric diagnosed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, they were in my corner. The
Good.
problem was I had two miscarriages, and
Yeah.
that kind of threw my whole system off. But the third was a charm, and our 31-year-old son is the proof of that. So
Yeah. That's beautiful. I
yeah,
love that.
happy
That's
endings,
very
right?
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's now, is he married?
No, he is
No, not
not.
yet.
No,
Yeah.
nope, nope.
So he's single and fancy free, right? He's just living a
Yeah,
good life.
free
I
agent.
like that.
Yes.
So, for our viewers, I listened to your TED Talk. What was it like to do a TED Talk?
Well,
To be asked
I
to do
have to
that?
be honest, it wasn't the TED Talk that you
Okay,
see.
gotcha.
It
Okay.
was, at the time I was working for the Consortium of MS Centers, which I've had a
Uh-huh.
relationship in New Jersey for years since I was diagnosed. The nurse practitioner there was my first nurse, and then she became the
Okay.
CEO for CMSC and IOMSN. Anyway, so they were doing a program for the first time to put these TED-like talks, they called them.
Yes.
And it was a whole program of different people, doctors, nurses,
Mhm.
patients talking about, MS. And so we went to Washington, D.C., me and Gary and our son Jordan, and we did two separate talks. And I wrote mine. Mine I wrote, and then us, we kind of just winged it, which was kind of fun in a way.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it was like doing a TED talk. First of all, I was
Yeah.
so nervous, but
You
the
wouldn't have known it, Kathy. You did. It was
information,
beautiful.
well, the information we provided is still being seen around the world,
Yeah.
and it lives
Wow.
on YouTube. But
Yeah.
it was important. It was kind of like, what would I do now? What would I've done then from what I know now? And
Right.
I would say trust your gut, because that's
Yeah.
something that young people don't necessarily do, and that's what I
Hmm.
based it on. But
Wow.
it was fun, and I thought it went really well. But thanks for
Yeah.
asking.
Oh, I thought it was, I loved it. I was like, gosh, that's so relevant still. Everything you said is so relevant.
Oh,
And then
thank
you
you.
were interviewed with Katie Couric. So what was that
Right.
like?
So that was kind of a surprise. I think it was Disability Pride Month,
Okay.
and I wrote something on Instagram because she's so
Uh-huh.
active on there, and she reached out to me one day privately and said, I really like what you said. I'm really interested in helping to create awareness about this idea. Would you be interested in being interviewed for, she has a wake up call, they call it,
Yeah.
her daily, yeah. So her daily newsletter, which is chock full of great information, and I recommend everybody subscribe to it. So I didn't actually talk to her, but I did have some back and forth, PM wise with
Mhm.
her. And it was lovely. And I was so proud to have been seen by her and have
Right.
been asked by her. And so, yeah, so that was really exciting, because
Yeah.
once you're with Katie Couric, it elevates the
Yeah.
conversation, because
For
she's so
sure.
out there. And I
Yeah.
love how she was so interested in MS and living with MS, and what could she do to promote that. So,
Right. That was just
thank you very
awesome.
much, Katie Couric, wherever you are.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's really, really awesome. All right,
Yeah.
now I want some questions about you guys. You ready? Okay.
Okay.
So, how have you guys kept the passion going in your marriage through all of being a caregiver, being married, doing this is different. It has its challenges. Being married, trying to be Kathy for you, being not the patient, but being a lover and not being seen as the patient, as a patient and a wife. I know the tricky part of that. Um, as spouses, how do you keep that passion and romance going so many years? So share, give us some tips.
Well, I think Gary and I have been really fortunate. It's really a blessing. And because when you're married, I mean, I was 29 and Gary was what, 30, 31 when we got married. I think people that get married younger, you really have to know each other, but you don't know how you're both going to evolve as you get
Yeah.
older. Sometimes the woman changes quicker than, or evolves more than the man, or vice versa. And you don't know where
Sure.
you're going to end up. Luckily for us, we were always so like minded in most things. And we always said from the start that communication, open communication, is everything, no matter
Yeah.
how difficult it can be, and or how sometimes when you're talking about MS, it can be, it's just like a laundry list of issues that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And do you have to keep telling your husband, I'm tired, I don't feel good,
Right.
I have pain, I gotta go to the bathroom, oops. So,
Yeah.
but we've been lucky that we are there to listen to each other,
Yeah.
and that's really a key component to keeping a marriage happy. And I just think that luck has something to do with that, bringing two people together.
Yeah.
And I think that we're just grateful that we have each other. And,
Mhm.
he comes with me to every neurologist, to every doctor's appointment, with my neurologist, because number one, we know it's helpful to have an
Yes,
advocate. But number two,
absolutely.
when you're the patient, you know, you're not always hearing everything that the doctor's
Right.
saying. And number three, with cognitive issues, here's my memory, he's sitting right next
Yes.
to me. So
Yeah.
these are, yeah, so that really keeps the marriage happy. That
Mhm.
said, uh, Gary wants to say something.
Yeah, I would say
Mhm.
two things, and maybe this is part of luck, but we were fortunate to both come to be the products of outstanding, successful marriages. We
Mhm.
saw
Very
the
important.
we
Yeah.
saw the communication and the affection between Kathy's folks, my
Mhm.
folks, and luckily, I mean, I really love Kathy's parents,
Mhm.
and vice versa
Yeah.
about mine.
We were really blessed in that way. They were each
Yes.
married 65 years. Our dads passed away,
Mhm.
but they were just a great example for us.
And I would say the other, Kathy touched on it, but another reason is um, we fundamentally not only love but appreciate each other as a person,
Mhm.
our traits, our values. Our interests don't always align. We share our interests. Some of them we both, you know, I've learned things from Kathy, and Kathy's
Mhm.
learned things from me. Other things like, gee, I can't think of any sports. Okay. Our first date was at a New York Mets game.
Here we go.
And my half serious crack is, yeah, it was false advertising. That was the last time Kathy watched a sporting event. Um,
You cut that one short. I asked him out. That's what he's
here we
not
go.
saying.
Oh
I
boy, here we
asked him
go.
out.
I didn't
So
know that.
how
You
much
didn't like
time do we have
sports.
now?
And I could only afford the nosebleed section to a Met game at
Oh,
Tuesday.
yeah.
That's what he was saying. Go ahead.
But I think that I don't want to speak for other people. Sometimes, you can't have a checklist.
Right,
Okay, I like A, B, C, D, and E. And if so and so doesn't like A, B, C, D, and
right.
E, then it's not a match.
Yeah,
Well, okay, maybe that works for some people, but you might be overlooking someone
right,
really, really nice
right.
in the more
Yeah,
important areas. But we have enough of those, we might have A, B, and D.
right.
We don't need C and
Yeah,
E.
yeah.
Yeah,
We both love art,
absolutely.
for example.
Yeah. Such a good thing to say for our younger people, who are looking for all of the check boxes. And I'm like, if you find that, let me know, because I don't think
Yeah.
that exists
Doesn't happen.
actually. No.
Right, right.
So
We live in the
it
real
is,
world.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I do think it's so interesting that you shared that, because I do agree with that wholeheartedly, that there needs to be a mutual respect, and you need to, and I've read a lot of things that you've put in through the years, Kathy, like that, we've done so much together, and times that you said he needs some space, and where you've gone with your son to go do something, and you just needed that time. And I think there's a balance between that, really seeing each other and seeing when each other needs some time, a way to do something fun, something different.
Mhm.
And I think that's so important, Kathy, that you see that. And seeing that in my husband, and knowing, I'm sending you away. I love you, but I'm sending you away to go see make sure this is,
You all right?
looks like it's acting funny. Making sure that I'm sending you to Colorado to go see your son, because you need to go spend some time with him. And I know you're going to have fun. And so just, seeing the things that they need as well. And sometimes I think we don't always see that. And getting out of, like we talked about, getting out of our MS stuff, and just seeing things, that those needs. And I think that you both do a beautiful job of that.
Oh,
Thank you.
thanks. Thanks. I think love is about not just thinking about yourself, but thinking about the other person first. And then you're just
Right.
really, what would make him happy? He seems tense. Well, maybe it's to be away from me for a little while. And
Right.
there's nothing wrong with that. It's totally understandable. MS is a monster in many
Right.
ways. So we
Yeah,
want
I
to,
think that's so good that you said that because I've noticed and I have to say it out loud that I have my AirPod on and I'm just talking to myself about, what hurts or that and I'll say to him, you know what, I'm going to go upstairs for a little bit and I'm just going to listen to music. And I said, no, I really am because I'm complaining and you need a rest from me. And he's like, I'm okay. I'm like, no, I'm going to take a break because you need it. Even if you don't know, I'm just complaining.
that's
So
right.
I'm going to
That's
give
right.
you 10 minutes away from me. And
And
so it's,
let's be honest, men have a little bit of a harder time expressing their true emotions, so we
yeah,
have to kind of pull it out of them, and we see
yes,
what's best for them. And we sometimes do as well, but you know,
right.
so you said to your husband, yeah,
Yeah,
I have to go upstairs, and I
right.
completely understand that. Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
just saw myself like, wow, I've been complaining nonstop. Like, I
yeah,
need a
yeah.
break. You need a break from me.
Right.
So how would you say that you've kept the respect and stuff, but the romance in the marriage that we see sometimes when we are each other's caregiver that can leave? How do you keep that specialty in there? Is it like a special date night or how do you keep that going?
Well, I
We
think
want to
there's
get to the fat part, Kathy and Gary. We want to get to the sexy part now.
I don't know. We're kind of flopping around at 65 and 66.
Oh,
Look
come
at
on, give us
that.
some hope. Let's go. We want some hope.
No, for me, as a woman, for me, that I find as when things are simpler,
Mhm,
it's more romantic to me.
mhm.
When things are really just the tiniest act of
Yeah.
just holding your hand,
Mhm.
or a kiss on the lips, the kiss on whatever it is, the
Yeah.
tiny smaller things are what resonates more with me. I can't
Yeah.
speak to Gary, but we do take daily walks now that we moved
Mhm.
down south. There are these beautiful greenways that are immersed in nature, and just getting him away from his computer and me being away from my computer and the phone.
Holding hands on the walk.
Right, and
Yeah.
really just
Yeah.
talking about things, or we're getting into, like, listening to the birds, and we have an app
Yes.
that identifies which bird
I
is
have
singing.
that.
The Merlin app.
Yes. My
Yeah,
kids were
I
like, you
love
are
it.
turning into grandma. I'm like,
I
well,
know, I've heard that before, but
yeah.
I
Just
know.
it keeps you close, and
Yes.
we hug a lot,
Yes.
and I mean,
Yeah, we hug all the time. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh, I
you know,
love
I
that.
know this isn't sexy enough for you, but
No,
for me,
I no, I
it's
honestly
really
heard that I'd done the podcast on intimacy and MS. And I loved that as we age, it becomes something that there's more holding and there's more intimacy in that part that and I love that because there's not so much pressure and it becomes you see the beauty in different things
right.
and just being together and like you said, holding hands and the things that I think you've worked for all those years that
Yeah,
come in later, and
yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing.
Oh,
Ca-
thanks.
Kathy, I'm sorry, but we can't go any further. If this is going to be on YouTube, they're going to bleep it out.
They're gonna
No,
laugh at
I
me.
know a way,
Gary.
Are you kidding? Sometimes I have guests like I'm like, "Oh, this is for sure gonna be bleeped out," but somehow my editor knows a way around it, so it gets somehow
That's
it
really
doesn't. I'm
funny.
like, "Oh boy."
No,
So,
no,
no,
my
this is
gosh.
rated G. This will be a G
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
No,
You know,
I
also I was thinking not just but our interests are the same. So we became members of a local art museum,
uh-huh.
and just spending the day with Gary,
Mhm.
and we stroll through the exhibits, and it just reignites how much we love each
Yeah,
other, how much we really love being together and sharing these joys, because who knew that we would be living down here, and who knew that we would be doing this, but here we are.
sure.
And let's celebrate those good moments, because those are the ones that might be fleeting at a certain point
Right.
when the MS or anything else as you age
Sure.
adds up. these are beautiful, magical moments that you want to hold on to.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. What are
That
some of the
is.
things that you're looking forward to in this next couple of years? What are some things, any vacations you have planned for this year?
I thought you were gonna
You're
talk.
like,
Nothing spectacular. I mean, we have Kathy's mom is 93, lives in New Jersey. My mom's 93, lives in Florida. So that in and of itself, that's 4 trips a year, more or less.
Yeah.
Um, we're going to explore. We're only a year and a half in North Carolina, so we're going to go out to Western North Carolina, Blue
oh,
Ridge
beautiful.
Mountains,
Right.
Yes.
The
area,
whole
Piedmont.
area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
explore
Yeah.
there.
Beautiful area. It's such a
Yeah.
beautiful area.
Really
Yeah,
beautiful.
I mean, down
Yeah.
the road, we hope to fly, elsewhere. I don't know if we'll get to
Yeah.
Europe again. We went several times when we were younger.
I'd love to go
Yeah.
back though.
Yeah. And
We
we've
keep
not
remi-
been there. That's on our bucket list.
Yeah.
we keep
Yeah.
reminding each other that we're not that far from Bermuda. And we've
True.
both been there. That's spectacular.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Um,
so
Wow.
we talk about it, and it's fun even just talking about it and looking and reading a lot about it, about the trips that we want to take. I mean, I always wanted to go to the Netherlands. I haven't been there yet.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're focusing on that because again, the art
Sure.
there is plentiful.
Sure.
So we'll see. We'll see what what life brings us.
Yeah. When it
Uh,
comes to traveling, do you feel like you have it down as far as like what you need to have packed, what you need to ask, and all that? I bet you both have that.
well, we definitely pack a whole lot less than we ever did. A
Yeah.
lot less than we ever did.
I'm not
Um,
there yet, Kathy. I'm
yeah.
still in
Well.
like,
Yeah, it makes life easier, especially when you
mhm.
only bring a carry-on with you. That's so
I
much
did
easier.
it, but it almost exploded. I was like, okay, I'm not quite there yet. I got the carry on, but they all looked at me like this might explode on the plane. I'm like, I hope not. It didn't, but
well,
I'm
I
getting
would say I would import this to impart this to
there.
everyone who's watching. I firmly believe. I think Kathy agrees. I think I don't have personally. I don't have the patience in general for long flights.
Mhm.
But if you have MS, I just if you can't get there direct nonstop, don't go.
Yes. It's
Okay, because it's not worth. Even if things go smoothly, it's just too much can go wrong. Delays,
yeah.
Yeah.
lost luggage. You don't need
Yes.
the aggravation. So
Yeah.
Right.
I firmly believe.
I
Well,
agree.
we grew up, in an area like in New Jersey, New York, where we could go
Right.
anywhere in the world
Yeah.
nonstop. I'm not used to this, that you have to
Right.
come here
And
first
doing
and go
that on our
there.
own. Yeah.
Yeah,
I did
yeah,
that last year on my own and it was very terrifying. And I thought, okay, that's the last time that I
yeah.
have that many connections because I just couldn't keep up with it. And then
Right,
missing one, I was like, okay, that's it. Done with
right,
that.
right.
So,
And then it all missed out. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you're right. Missed it. And then it was like,
Right,
so
right, and just the recovery time of for your MS wise, if you do have all those connections and know you stand by and it just
yes,
isn't working for me. It takes away from your
no,
vacation time. So luckily,
100%.
our area is opening up more direct flights to it Paris
Good.
and so that's good.
Oh,
So
good.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So a
But
couple
yeah,
more questions I have for you guys.
sure.
So, and then I'll be done, but a couple more. So, Gary, what is the thing that you appreciate or love the most in Kathy?
Boy.
Wow. I
I
would
know
say
I didn't even write that one down.
Woo.
that's a tough one because there are just so many
Oh, here he
qualities
goes
to
again.
choose from. I have to narrow it down. I
35 years of this.
See, now Kathy gets some time because she knows, but she has MS. So,
when you ask Kathy this, her answer will not be his sense of humor. I can guarantee. Um,
Go
well,
ahead.
you don't know. It could be.
no.
I love you too, Kath.
I appreciate the inner person, the inner beauty that Kathy has, her attitude that life is rich, take advantage, and that she wants to do what she can to help people. The backdrop on that briefly is when Cathy was first diagnosed, we went to an MS support group, and it was a total downer. It wasn't support; it was a gripe session, and right then it was just obvious that Cathy is different, is a special person in that regard, and she really wants to help people. That's why she started the blog,
Yeah.
and um, so
Thanks,
for those reasons, that's the answer to your question.
That's beautiful. You make me cry. I
Yeah.
love that.
I
That's
didn't expect
beautiful.
that
Oh,
one.
I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you,
Thanks.
Gary.
Thanks.
All right,
Okay.
Kathy, your turn.
Oh, same question? Oh,
Mhm.
I should have been thinking about it. What do I love most in Gary?
Mhm.
Um, I think because he always had something that I did not, and he had self-confidence. And that is not something that I necessarily had or have. And so when I saw how he would speak what's on his mind and not pussyfoot around with words and was definite in, I'm doing this or this is what I believe,
Mhm.
that was like an aha moment for me. And I realized that that's I should learn how to adopt that. And I should learn because life is short and it's fleeting and you're not necessarily promised the next day.
Yeah,
So why not be like that?
yeah.
So I loved that in Gary, and I know that his parents were the same way. I used to watch them too. I think that's a great characteristic of anybody when they could feel such self confidence in a world that's often chaotic and unpredictable. So I
Mhm.
was drawn to that right away.
Mhm.
And,
Thank
yeah.
you.
And he
That's
meant the same
beautiful.
thing. Yeah.
And I mean, you two really bring out the best in each other, and it's
Oh,
very obvious. What
thank
a complete honor to be able to interview you both and to meet you both. I mean, it really is. You can definitely tell the love and support that you give to each other that you have through the years because you definitely bring out the best in each other.
Thank you, Cathy.
So
you.
It's been a pleasure
very
to
beautiful.
share our journey with you and to
Mm,
speak to you today.
You're a
it
great
has been.
interviewer, and I love what you're
Thank you.
doing. And I feel like you're one of my children, although that
Thank
was,
you.
but it really, because I love watching you fly and seeing
Well,
the
thank
next
you.
glass ceiling that you're going to break. And I, for one,
Thank you,
applaud you.
Kathy.
Thank you for
Well,
this
I'll take
opportunity.
it because I don't
Yeah.
have a mom. So I'll take it. I'll take you as a
Okay.
mom.
Here
Thank
I
you.
am.
Thank
'Cause we
you.
look so alike,
Um, thank you. Well, I'll take it. I'll take it. The last question I have for you is if you had one thing to say to newly diagnosed, both of you or Kathy, what would you want to leave saying? What would your thing be to say?
The thing is, what I've always said is that to trust your instinct to be your guide. Because if you have a medical team that's telling you you can't do this or is telling you you shouldn't take this med, you need a team that's going to be your partner. You need and that goes with complementary medicine
Yeah,
too. If something sounds spammy, it probably is.
yeah,
So listen to yourself. You got it in there. Everybody is born with that. Trust your
yeah.
instinct to be your guide, and you'll do a great job.
I
And
love
watch
it.
your
I
eye.
love it. Gary, anything?
Keep the faith.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's going to be a cure at any time soon, but the uh, the technologies
right.
are improving. Um, I think that there's a lot of hope on the horizon,
Yeah,
and have faith in your professional, your doctors, your healthcare team, but also educate yourself, be armed to
yes,
ask good questions. Always,
yes. Amen.
okay.
And
I
write them
like that.
down. And
Yes,
don't leave an appointment without having each one
yes,
answered. I'm
and
sorry.
make sure this has always been a priority with us, and we've been lucky with this. make sure they are spending the time with you and not rushing you out the door. If they're
Right.
rushing you out the
Yes.
door, find someone else.
Yes.
Right.
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
Right.
Thank you both
Hallelujah.
so much.
Thanks,
Very,
Kat.
very important words. I love you both. Thank you for being on Move It or Lose It. It was such an honor to have you both.
We
Come
love
on.
you. We love
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you
I
for
will-
carrying my name around.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
at
I
that.
love it. It does then feel like you're my mom. So thank you both so much.
I'm happy to be
Pleasure.
so. Okay. Bye, Kat.
Absolutely.
Have a great
Bye.
day.
Love you guys. Thank you for another episode of Move It or Lose It. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know any episodes that you would like to see on Move It or Lose It. Have a great day, guys. We love you and have a wonderful week. And I will see you next week on Move It or Lose It. Bye-bye. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Move It or Lose It podcast, where you can again find us every Tuesday and also wherever you like your podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. Join us on that. And we can't wait to see you again. We're going to have a lot of exciting guests and working together. And as always, you'll hear us say at the end of every podcast, we are stronger together. So let's do it. Let's become stronger together. Have a great day.